Welcome to Automotive and kind of a build walkthrough, box opening type of thing. As you can see, ordered a lot of stuff, but not really a lot because, most of this is one big ass box, which we'll get to. But yeah, I wanted to go through and kind of discuss, well, what I have on the table and changes I'm making to the build, which I've kind of discussed. Like, it wasn't that I've made changes from what my plan has been, just kind of what the next steps are, right? So I had been talking about doing the fuel cell next, and it'll be part of what's next, but it's not going to be my next step because, well, I got a bonus at work and decided to throw that towards something I had been debating on. So this box right here is a change, and maybe I should open it first. Which kind of sucks because it's the biggest thing on here, but I mean, you can already tell this is a bell housing. So if this is a bell housing, this is a transmission. Just get the damn bell housing open. Well, for starters, they don't really mess around with their boxes because they taped it and stapled it, so that's cool. At least I know it's safe. It's obviously too high for me to show you, but they packed this better than I got my fuel cell, so that's cool. It is kind of a kit as well. I had the option to get the transmission with the full kit that came with everything, but that was an extra $1,500 I really didn't want to spend right now because, well, I don't need that until I'm closer to running, and I'm a frame. A long ways from that. But the bottom cover, let's try not to stab myself as I reach over it. It does come with the full hardware, so that's cool. And then let's get the bell housing out. So I could have went with steel, but I really like the look of the aluminum clutch fork boot, whatever that is. So that's another thing is, well, this is a stick shift, and I haven't drove stick since I was 17, which is a long time ago. It was a long time ago, but here we are. Well, there's more hardware in here, but yes, this is nice. So this is Lakewood Industries. I think most of the kits I was looking at might have been through a Holly-based company. For all I know, Holly owns this company too. They're kind of taking over the car industry, at least on the American Muscle side and LS side and stuff like that. So yeah, fancy bell housing that I don't want to take out of the plastic wrap until I go to install it. So I'm sorry if that's lame, but here we are. And that kind of gave away, what's in the big box, which is a 5-speed. Why a 5-speed? Well, size, right? If I could have got a brand new 4-speed, I probably would have went with that. Maybe. I mean, the whole goal of the 39, the Rud Rod, is to kind of cruise, and to cruise a lot, and to cruise long distances, right? If I plan to go to LS Fest in Vegas, it's like a 14+ hour drive. I don't want to be completely miserable, but I want to look cool. So I'm going to kind of be miserable. With that being said, I felt this was a good option to really force myself to learn stick shift and no stick shift, right? Watching a ton of YouTube videos, you see, like Vinny with Driver's Era and all of them, and well, they're all stick shift and they're all really enjoying it, and it does seem a lot more fun, right? And never owned a stick and probably wasn't going to, so I might as well build one, right? When I get into drifting, that's going to be sequential. It's going to be still, manual, right? The Chevelle will probably be automatic. We'll see when I get there. But the other thing I started digging into as well is size. With how high I have the engine, I'm losing a lot of what's already a tiny cab on you know, kind of the transmission tunnel in the transmission. So one thing I'm going to do in this video when I get this out is I'm going to compare it to the size of 350 Turbo, because I don't know where that lies size-wise. But I do know, you know, I wanted to go 6L80. This is considerably smaller than a 6L80. It's smaller than the T56 6-speed, you know, so in the, what, T6060? Might be saying that wrong, but it's smaller than the 6-speed, right, which was another benefit. And that's why I said if I could have went 4-speed to save space, I would have contemplated it. But this should be really nice. And as you might be able to tell, it was an open box, so this isn't even the actual transmission box, I don't think. I don't know. I'm interested to see what it looks like when it opens up. Well, let me get this out of the way. So I guess let's just see what this box holds, huh? We have at least a little more table space. And there you have it. An open box Tremec TKX. TXK. I think it's TKX. But it's a 5-speed. Now, trying to figure out stick shift for the 39 was a little interesting, right? Because you do have different ones, and one of the things that plays a big role is the shifter, right? It's a truck, it's a tiny cab. I pushed the engine back, I raised everything up, so I wasn't entirely sure, still not entirely sure where I want the shifter. However, with this, it can mount where it's at, it can mount forward right here, or it can mount up here. All of which are, you know, useful options. I'm not sure which one I'll end up doing. I won't know until I have a seat in there and all of that. But the nice thing with having this is now I can start to work on the cross members, get this mounted up, right? I can get this on the engine. I can start to really finalize some things that I couldn't before. So now, sadly, I'm still going to leave this on the table, and you know, there are markings and crap all over it, because that's the one thing with an open box is it did get inspected. So she's good to go. I don't have all the stuff that would have came with the box brand new. However, I saved $500. I won't be able to tell you if it was worth it until, you know, I find out I'm missing things. Now that that's out of the way, I don't know if this one's really worth going through or not. I guess I should open it and remember what I ordered, because this one I ordered quite a while ago. So this one's from TMR, which is mostly off-road stuff, but it's what I used for the rod ends and heim joints on the rear suspension, which I probably went too beefy for what this car is going to be, but maybe not. Now, they are definitely beefier than the front, so, you know, they're either too beefy or the front's not enough. Now, there's poly bushings. So the poly bushings are for my cantilever front suspension. Now, you're probably wondering why the heck I went cantilever when I've got a solid axle, and, well, it looks cool. How many benefits am I really going to get over just a normal shock and coilover? Probably not a whole lot. It's definitely going to be more comfortable than the leaf spring was going to be, so that's cool. But yeah, most of it's just a cool factor. And then another thing I ordered was these little covers. Now, these covers I'm going to put on all of my rod ends, because none of the rod ends have, well, any kind of cushioning, and I don't want them to get squeaky. I don't want crap to get in them. So yeah, and that's all I got from TMR. I got 2 poly bushings for the for the cantilever front suspension, and I got a ton of these boots, which these are like $9 a piece. This little box is over $100. So that kind of stuff. Now the super plain box is a McMaster order. I made this order when I made the TMR order, and really this one's just hardware, right? McMaster is what I use because I can really spec what I order, and I can, I don't have to go in and talk to people, which is nice. So pretty much all of my suspension is going to be 1/2 inch with the exception of the poly bushing, which I believe is a 9/16 bolt. But all of the other are 1/2 inch bolt. Oh, I guess that's not true. The large bolt that mounts the hairpin radius rods, which connect the front axle to the frame, that's a 5/8. I wanted to go beefy because it's kind of whole thing's pushing back to that point. I wanted it solid. So this is bolts. I went with flanged bolts and flanged nuts. They're more expensive, but then I don't have to use washers. And yet I still got washers because, well, some of the stuff does need washers. What sucks with the flanged bolts is you don't have every increment of size. And my goal when designing this, since I'm putting so much time into designing, I didn't want to cut bolts. I didn't want bolts too long. Can't have bolts too short. So, well, size matters, especially in this situation. Yeah, more bolts. And yeah, here we go. These are the 5/8 ones. Now these will go through the rod end for the hairpin and then all the way through the frame. The next episode I will be doing those, so I'll go into more detail as I'm going through that. Now this, I should say, is the tube that I'm going to cut down to put in the frame for that bolt, right? I didn't want to just have the frame open to the elements, so I'll put this guy on there, weld it, run the rod. You'll see that in the next section. Here's my rod ends. Now, the one thing I liked about these rod ends is that the width matches the connections on the shock and the coilover. So for that, I was able to kind of match the cantilever and the bracket spacing all the way around on the front, which is real nice. The back, I was able to kind of convert on that on the lowers, so it didn't matter as much. And then I've got more. So one thing you'll notice as I'm building is I have nylock that'll go on eventually, but what for the most part, I'm putting on regular nuts as I'm building, knowing that everything's going to get torn down. But I do have nylocks, and yeah, that's the goal. And these are just more rod ends. And that's my McMaster car order. If you have any questions and you want more specs, comment down below. I'm more than happy to, walk everyone through. That's the whole goal with this is, to kind of put the information out there that I struggled to find and I had to kind of come up with or extensively look through to figure out. So let's just jump into one that's, well, not a box. And it's my send cut send order. So these are the brackets that I have for the front axle that I designed. So I'm changing how the hairpins connect. Now, the original kit that you get from Speedway for the hot rod front axle, they use a clevis style, and I wanted to change that to, well, my rod ends, right? So gives a double shear. They're nice and thick, 3/16. The brackets that are currently on there, I believe, is just a 3/8 because it has a clevis that connects. But it's also made for the leaf spring connection and all of that, right? Everything I'm moving away from. So I kind of wanted to go full custom. Did I need to? No. And those brackets, I could have literally just ordered a second set, switched over to rod ends, right? Everything would have connected up and I could have been fine right there. But I enjoy making things difficult on myself, so I made a new design. I love Send Cut Send. Hopefully, eventually, I can get sponsored from them. Until then, I'm gonna keep using them because I don't want to fill my shop with machines that it would take to do this. Right? Would it be cool to have a plasma table? Yeah. Will I get one eventually? I don't know. Depends on how big I get. But Send Cut Send is great. Now, when you put in your parts, it'll tell you if things don't work or are going to be difficult, or if it may deform. Their customer service will reach out and tell you that changes need made in order for them to make parts. Like, they're great, and it's fast. I ordered this on a Saturday at 4 p.m. and it was shipped out Monday. So that's awesome, right? Where else can you order custom parts on a Saturday? And they're going to build them Saturday, Sunday, ship them Monday. It's great. And they look great. I haven't fully inspected them or cleaned them up because, well, I haven't got to the front axle yet. Again, next episode. But I wanted to show them with this because, well, I use Send Cut Send a lot. In fact, come Wednesday or Thursday this coming week, I'm going to be putting in a $1,200 order in sheet metal to finish up a lot of the frame, right? I want to get the frame done. I want to start dialing in the cab, and there's just so much if I want this truck done this year. And I do want it done this year. So sheet metal order I'm going to have to do. Yeah, let's get to the next box. The Speedway boxes. Now these ones, of course, say Speedway, but I ordered the transmission from Speedway, ordered the bell housing from Speedway. A lot of what I'm doing on the 39 Speedway just has, and it's super convenient. So that's who I'm using. Now when we get into these boxes, I'm not entirely sure what's in each box. That being said, I know what I ordered. I just don't know what's in the specific boxes. Oh man, and this box is another box. Ooh, 2 boxes. That's even better, right? 2 boxes are better than 1. They're even, Speedway boxes. Oh man, and that would be my really big receipt. So that's kind of depressing. All right, so I got to make sure my address doesn't show on here. Sweet, no address. So they're both the same things in the box, but I will open one at least so I can pull it out and show you what I got. And, so I can just see it. So now the brakes that my dad had were, yes, they're disc brake. They're really small. And when I went to upgrade the rear to disc, well, then the rears were going to be considerably bigger than the front. And since 70% of your stopping's in the front, well, for one, it was going to look goofy, but 2, it didn't make sense. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just spend $600 and upgrade the front brakes? That's what I did. I went with 11-inch, which I think matches the back. I think they're both going to be 11-inch. But yeah, drilled, slotted. Did I need them this hardcore? No, I did not. Are they going to be sweet? Oh, yes. Yes, they are. So one thing that's not on this table because it ships as a kit from the manufacturing is the rear brakes. But they're pretty much the same kit. They're very similar. So as for the calipers, I don't remember if I got them colored or not. There's a chance that they're not painted, but I plan on either going red or black depending on if I do the rims red or black. Then the caliper will be the opposite because you can't have them both the same color. That looks stupid. Yeah, 11-inch. I don't have the calipers here. Maybe it says on my fancy receipt. All right. Well, it doesn't actually say the caliper outside of that it's 60s to mid 70s GMC. This brake kit had to be specific for the mid-50s spindle because that's what's on the hot rod solid axle. So you've got two different solid axle types. You've got the Ford one and the Chevy one. And I had the Chevy one, so I had to make sure that I got the correct brake kit, which again is a lot of this information you just kind of have to hunt and peck because it's not, well, easily or readily available. Now wow, this box is considerably lighter than I expected for how big it is. Pretty sure I know what this one is just by the size of the box. Well, let's get it out. Now this one might be the one that you guys question the most, which feel free. And if you do question it, tell me why. Because this is one I contemplated a lot, right? So the crappy thing with the solid axle and everything is kind of the steering and the suspension and the comfort. But, you know, what I had was just a Vega steering box, which is very common on the old hot rods. And I was like, man, is there anything better? Now, for what I'm going to do with the truck, the Vega one probably would have been fine, and I already had it. So it's not like I would have had to spend more. But if I had the option for better, then why not go better? And man, if this isn't better. This thing's sweet. Well, they're Speedy Pack plastic stuff. I guess not Speedy Pack, but this plastic seal just kind of, well, merged with this bag, so that's cool, you know. Whatever. I also like the newspaper wrapping. Why not? So this is just going to be the connecting rod. So essentially what this is a half rack. Now what makes this cool is it connects to the same thing that your Vega steering box would have. So I did have that on here once upon a time, and well, I cut up the frame and got rid of that. But I ordered a new bracket, so I'll mount that. But that's what's cool is if you have a hot rod with the Vega steering box already on it and you want to upgrade it, this mounts to that location. And it should drastically work better. It should have much better response. And it should feel a lot better too. So yeah, comes with the instructions. And this thing looks sweet. The one thing that will look weird that you will see is, well, this side's just not going to be there. It's going to be mounted like this, so that's going to be weird. But damn, it looks better than the Vega steering box. Pretty stoked for that. The one thing that did suck is since I didn't have everything mounted, I wasn't entirely sure how long of axle or connecting rod I needed. So there's a good chance that the connecting rod I got is not going to be the correct size. In fact, I can almost guarantee it's not the correct size. Onto the last box. We made it, guys. You know, I just got rid of my stack of boxes and now I have another stack. Okay, this box is a little more messy, so we'll just kind of wing it on things. Energy suspension. I really like them, mainly because that's the kit I got for the Chevelle. It's what I have for the cab mounts. They just have a lot of stuff, and it's easy to find exactly what you need. And, you know, Speedway has it, so that made it useful. However, you can order them from Summit and all of that as well. This just connects here, and it'll connect to my custom bracket when I get that made. So, yeah, energy suspension. All right, so what are these guys? Now these are your steering brackets, I guess. I'm not sure, do they have a name? They're flat arms. Cool. Essentially, this connects to your axle, well, to your brakes. That'll be to your spindle. Your spindle. There we go, your spindle. I knew it was a word, just had to find it. The ones I have on there now are for the 4-inch drop. what you probably didn't notice, but you will when I go to update the front axle, is I moved the hairpin rods down lower. So with that, the steering and everything moves lower, and since it goes right through the center of those hairpins, I got the 6-inch drop because I'm hoping to avoid having to make custom ones. I can if I need to, I really don't want to, so I got these. Yeah, so that's all it is, right? Is you got one end that connects both spindles, and then you got this end which will connect to that guy. And then when you turn the steering wheel, your damn wheels turn, because moving this previously sucked because I had to move each one. It was terrible. Don't recommend it. So this is just part of the brake kit. These are going to be your essentially your soft lines for your brake calipers. Okay, well this sucks. This is kind of a mixture of stuff. Kind of the not joy of ordering a bunch of things in one go. Yeah, so this is a Vega steering mount for the Vega steering box, and it literally, you weld this to the frame, and then this guy just connects right to it. So depending on how that goes, yeah. But looking at this now, I could have definitely just made my own bracket, and kind of if I wanted a cross member there, I could have done that. But figured whatever, if they already made stuff for it, then why not? The rest of this bag is, oh, I am incorrect. It's mostly brake stuff, which kind of sucks that it's like this, because that's going to be, it's going to be a pain to figure out. The brake stuff's going to be a mess. I'm not looking forward to that. But these guys are just bump stops. They're 1 5/8 and then 11/16 deep. I got to put these front and back, so when I bottom out my suspension, I don't go straight to frame. I go to these little guys. Yeah, these are rather cheap. One other thing I'm going to have to do is, as you can tell, it's, well, I'm assuming you can tell, but maybe you can't from it being in a bag. It's got a stud and a nut. Since this is attaching to the bottom of a square tube frame, what I'm going to get are going to be weld nuts, so I can drill a hole, pop that up, weld it, tighten this in there, call it a day. So something to think about when you're using these, where you're using them, right? I could have added a bracket and avoided that whole thing, but I think it's going to be cleaner just mounting them straight to the to the frame. Yeah, brake stuff. In fact, I'm willing to bet, yep, this is more brake stuff. My brake pads. This would be the steering rod for that guy. I guess it's probably not a steering rod, is it? Steel drag link. There you go. So that's what's going to connect this guy to these guys. And yeah, as you can tell, I don't know all the terminology. So yeah. I was really hoping how many pistons these are would tell you. I'm pretty sure they're a 2-piston, but they might just be a single. And sadly, I don't know enough about brakes to look at it and tell unless it's super obvious. So let's see if it's super obvious. All right, to me that looks single. Please correct me in the comments because, well, none of this tells me. None of it tells me. But, yeah, fancy. Now I will have to get this powder coated or painted because this is going to look like, you know, shit after I drive it a little bit. Then the last thing in here is just the other caliper. Now, one thing I did want to do, I'm just not going to do it in this video because I made a mess and I have to be ready for dinner in an hour. Eek. Didn't quite plan that far ahead. Do have a big old stack of boxes now. So cool. Just got rid of the other one. But yeah, when I go to install the transmission, which will be in maybe not the next video, but the video after that, I want to compare it to the 350 turbo, which in some ways it looks bigger, but I can tell just from looking at over here to this, it's not as wide, which is great because that means I will have more foot space and the passenger will have more foot space. The one thing you probably don't realize, or you might if you've actually seen them up close, the 39 cabs are small. I'm talking the widest point on the inside is 4.5 feet, and that very quickly narrows down to under 4 feet. So she's small. You don't have a whole lot of room. In fact, I had to order buckets for my sim rig to test out so I could see if I can try and stuff a large seat in there. If not, I'm going to be snug in a medium. Now, one thing, please subscribe if you're enjoying the build. If you want to have motivation, because, you know, if you see someone like me building this stuff, you're going to feel confident that you can. But also, you know, if you're enjoying the content and you're learning from it, please like, subscribe, ask questions. Let's, you know, have a conversation and learn. I enjoy the comments you guys post because I'm learning from you guys as well. A lot of this stuff I am literally learning as I go. Now, as I do more builds, of course, that's going to change. But this is my first full custom build, and I don't know what I'm doing. I have a gist of it, and I'm learning and I'm researching. So, you know, our conversations are super helpful. Please don't stop doing that. Oh man, now I feel like I'm rambling. Hopefully this video was useful. If it was useful, let me know. If you want me to do more videos like this as I order things, let me know. I love taking the time to describe these things to you because then I have to, you know, I have to commit, but I have to be able to explain the reasoning, right? Everything I purchased for this truck I've thought about, and I do have a reason behind it, and this kind of reconfirms that. Sadly, sometimes the reason is it looks cool. But I'm gonna be honest with you, when, you know, that's my reasoning, because it looks cool. And feel free to question it and argue, because I don't mind that either. And now that I'm truly just rambling, I'm gonna wrap this video up.